The following program is brought to you by your friends at Podcast One. Don't forget to download our new Podcast One app.
This is the sound of buying your dream car on Facebook Marketplace. The sound of the search.
Convertible, coupe, SUV, sedan. Hey.
The sound of messaging the seller. And this is the sound of meeting up.
Hi, I'm Mike.
Hey, I'm Vanessa. So the car's back here.
Does it have a name?
His name is Robert Jones.
Facebook Marketplace is full of real people shopping for really great finds. Right here in your neighborhood. Facebook Marketplace. Buy and sell together.
Hey, Collider fans, this is John Roca. If you're excited for Halloween, you are going to love all the thrilling shows Podcast One has to offer. Get ready for chills with some of the best crime and mystery shows around, like Beyond the Darkness, Serial Killer Podcast, Cold Case Files, Murder Made Me Famous, The First Degree, and so much more. Check out all these thrilling shows today on Podcast One or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Schmoedown Rundown. Introducing first, Frankie Stab Janisch, and the host of the Schmoedown Rundown, Brad Gilmore.
What's up, Movie Trivia Schmoedown fans? Welcome to the Schmoedown Rundown, the official after show for the Movie Trivia Schmoedown. My name is Brad Gilmore, and I am joined by Frank Janisch. Frank, how's it going, man?
It's going pretty good. It's been a long week, and a couple things happened to me this week. One, I got a new boss. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And two, I tried to go toe-to-toe with the Professor Lon Harris on Twitter. Didn't go well. Brad, didn't go well, but it didn't go that bad either, I gotta say.
Yeah, I actually dueled with Mr. Lon the Professor before on Twitter, and I gotta say, I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it at all. It kind of angered me a little bit.
The funny thing was, I saw this tweet, I don't want to get all political, but he made this tweet about going to DEF CON 5, and I looked at it and I go, that's not how DEF CON numbers work. And so I literally looked at his tweet and I said, should I take a shot here and do the well actually argument with the professor? And I thought about it long and hard. I really did. And then I was like, yeah, go for it. So I did it, and I felt okay about it. I'm like, I'm not wrong in what I was saying. And then he came back and with a fair response, and I had to like cede his point of view, because I didn't want to go super hardline staunch on my position, because then he would probably destroy me. So I ceded by opting for saying that his position was fair, and I came out of that relatively unscathed, I felt. But it was a good laugh.
He and I's argument was about when that whole rumor was going around about Idris Elba, and he was going to take over as James Bond, and he was talking about Idris wasn't aged out of it. And I just said to him, it was the same thing as you. I didn't disagree with anything that he said, but it was a well actually argument. And my well actually was like, well, nobody started at that age. He'd be the oldest Bond to start at that age. And then, he went to DEF CON level 5.
Well, that's not how DEF CON numbers work.
Oh, whatever, Janisch. Let's move on. We don't need to talk about it anymore. The Professor Lon Harris, is he going to get the yips? We're going to find out here this week on the Schmoedown Rundown. We're going to be talking about his match and so many more things. Spectacular is looming around the corner, Janisch, and we're going to get to some news about the Spectacular. But I think the first thing that we should talk about, you've been pimping out this sites.google//_LMNOP for a long time now. And now, though, I feel like there's going to be a better home for your stats and your sites and all that stuff. And it's the official Movie Trivia Schmoedown website. Yes, triviasd.com is now live and in living color. And William, the Beast, young William, some of us know him as Will, Willie, Bill, Billy. But Bibiani, yes, Bill Billy Bibbs, which I love, by the way. Bill Billy Bibbs is the managing editor for the website. So shout out to the Beast, Bibbiani, former champion. TriviaSD.com. Janisch, give me your thoughts on it.
I'm excited, especially when I heard Bibbiani was going to be the managing editor. He sent out an email to the group that's part of the site, that's writing for the site, that's contributing to the site. And I'm not going to read what he said in the email, but it's basically, he made me feel pretty good to be a part of this team and the direction he wants to take it in. So I think everyone should be excited about what we're going to do on the site. I can speak for myself in terms of putting up stats. There's not much up there right now, but in the coming weeks ahead, in the days and weeks ahead, it will be populated with more and more information across all Schmoedown leagues, and I'm looking forward to getting this information out there where you can easily know the website name, triviasd.com. That's a lot easier, a lot less letters than I've been used to in the past.
Yes. Yes, it's much easier. TriviaSD.com. I'm excited. I've already checked out the website, I should say, and kind of perused around there. What's one of the things that you like the most about it?
I think it just looks clean. It looks professional, and right now things are laid out, I feel like, in a pretty user-friendly way. And right now, again, just first couple of days here with the site, it's going to get a lot more inundated with info that everyone's going to want to look at and see and use in their debates and promoting this game, the Schmoedown, the sport. So I think it's a great tool for not only the fans but also promoting the sport of movie trivia, and I think it's a great thing. And the way it looks, it's very professional, and I'm excited once again for Bibbs to be spearheading as the managing editor for the site. So it's gonna be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to what they do in the future with the site, because this isn't just it. What they have laid out there, it's going to evolve, and just like the Schmoedown game has evolved, so will this site, and it's gonna be pretty awesome, especially going into next season.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm excited about all things TriviaSD.com. So go over there right now and make sure you sign up for the mailing list so you never miss anything for the movie Trivia Schmoedown. Christian would not want you missing a single thing. And speaking of Christian Harloff, Christian put up an interesting poll, Frank. And I got to say, I don't know if we're going to get into it about this poll, but I have some thoughts. And I know you might have some thoughts, but he put up a poll asking if the Star Wars belt should be retired. The Star Wars belt, of course, we've seen champions such as Ken Knapsack, such as Sam Witwer, who was on my fantasy team, and that really didn't pan out well for me. And now yeah. Alex Damon is the champion. Where do you sit on this? Do you think that the Star Wars championship belt should be retired?
I think probably there really isn't that many people out there that can hang with the likes of Alex Damon, Ken Knapsack, Joseph Scrimshaw. I wish I could say Sam Witwer, but he's a busy guy, so there's no guarantee he could be somewhat of a regular in the league, and that's kind of a problem too, especially when he was the champion at one point. We saw how that turned out and the kind of situation we got into with that. So that was tough for that specific division. I don't know. I mean, I am leaning that they should retire it, but I would love to see it as perhaps even Patreon exclusive matches, or it comes out for special events such as Collision or Spectacular. Have it once a year, but it's not a division. It's just kind of this fancy little division that we have every once in a while, and it could pop up at Celebration, which I think they might try and do again this coming spring when Celebration is here in Chicago, which would be a lot of fun. So I think overall though it should be effectively retired and just kind of like a novelty belt basically at this point.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I think that I like the idea of it being a Patreon exclusive, but I almost say that you kind of just go away from the Star Wars aspect of the belt altogether and just kind of make it you could just make it like the Star Wars Cup. as opposed to having, Star Wars championship belt where there's one champion and the champion's got to defend it to lose it. It's more of a cup. It's more of like the Super Bowl, more like the NBA Finals. The champion doesn't necessarily have to be, always in the game. You know what I mean? It's more of a community style. Like whoever makes it to this match, then you compete for the Star Wars Cup or something along those lines. I've also thought about having like a Patreon, because you have all these exhibition matches. Like the horror match that just came out. I think it's a horror fatal 5-way for November. I think you should have, maybe even exhibition type championship belts. I don't know if they are defended exclusively, like you said, on the Patreon. I don't know. I think there are a lot of different things, but I just think Star Wars belt in this championship league, the division of the Star Wars in movie trivia Schmoedown proper, should probably not go on past the spectacular. I think, like I said, I like the idea of a cup. I like the idea of like a tournament, but just not a reigning defending champion.
Yeah, I never thought of that, and I like that idea that you brought up. It's more like a Super Bowl. It's the Star Wars Cup. I think that's a pretty good idea because with defending a belt, you're going to get one player up there, one new player going against the defending champion at this point, which is Alex Damon. So if we had triple threat matches or fatal 5-way matches, every once in a while at special events, you could see plenty of other players that are very good, like Joseph Scrimshaw, Ken Knapsack. You could even see Steele Saunders perhaps out there again. Maybe Sam Witwer does show up at Celebration, since I think he would be there anyways. So they have a table filled like they did at Celebration at the very first one, or one of the first ones. That would be, I think that's a really good way to go.
So look at that. For once, Frank and I agree on something. That is incredible. By the way, we have to agree on something else before we move forward. We can both agree that the reason you're just hearing our beautiful voices and not seeing our beautiful faces is the doing of one Chris Clark. Chris Clark's been so busy, he's dropped the ball. He has dropped the ball. He's been rocking out to Meatloaf. He's been jamming. He's been busy doing God knows what. And, he wasn't here to produce the show. So, whatever. Chris.
He really is rocking to the end of time. I got to give him that.
He is rocking. He's rocking the sucker to the end of time. Yeah. Whatever sucker that is. Hopefully it doesn't drip you dry. Let's talk, though, about the Spectacular. We're all excited for the Spectacular. This is the biggest event in movie trivia Schmoedown history. This is the third Spectacular 3, right? Yeah. Yeah, Spectacular 3, the WrestleMania of the movie trivia Schmoedown. We have now been confirmed that it will be now. Maybe this isn't confirmed, but there's going to be 6 matches, and I'm assuming is it going to be a 3-video format?
Yeah, it makes sense with the 6 matches, 2 per video. We do know that the 4 belts will be defended. What the other 2 matches will be has not been, as far as I know, been confirmed. So I think we talked about it before that with all the new managers from Anarchy, there might be another manager bowl. But then that 6th match, I'm not really sure what it could be. It could be a number 1 contenders match from Inner Geekdom, singles, teams, what have you. It could be, or it could be something entirely different. I don't know. So yeah, but Christian did confirm to someone on the Facebook group page that it will be 6 matches, so we do know that much.
We know it's going to be 6 matches, so we know that John Roca is going to defend against the winner of the singles tournament. We know that we're very close to knowing who the Shire Wolves are going to be defending their championships against. We're almost there. We're going to find out very soon. And then Star Wars match, has that been announced?
Yeah, it has, and we actually found that out this week through the matches. It was in one of the cutscenes for the matches.
So we'll get to that when we get to it.
Yeah.
And then which one? Oh, and the Inner Geekdom, of course. So there's a lot going on the line here and at the Spectacular. 6 matches, 3 videos. It should be interesting. Speaking of Christian Harloff, the Q&A from the Patreon is available to anyone right now, not just a patron. Christian was teasing a lot of upcoming changes for the next season, Frank. What do you know? You're the insider here. No one talks to me. No one talks to me. I don't know why, but you're the insider. You get the scoop. You're the Stephen A. Smith. You're the Ariel Helwani. What's going on?
Well, reports indicate, Brad, that a lot of Yeah, on the Patreon Q&A, he was fans definitely got a sense that things are going to be going more towards things. There will be more things for Patreon members, and it's about growth for the Schmoedown. And if anybody wants to listen to that Q&A, it's not just exclusive to patrons like it normally is. Brianne and Christian made it available to everyone because it is an important thing about the future of the Schmoedown, and it coincides with the website. Obviously, it's another step in the evolution of expanding this game. So I highly encourage everyone to head over to patreon.com/Schmoedown and check out that Q&A from Patreon, or check out that Q&A from Christian on the Patreon site. It's very interesting, and it's a good listen.
Well, yeah, I mean, whenever Christian speaks, we shall listen. He is the creator of the Schmoedown, so he will know where it is going. Now, speaking of the patron, we got to do the Patreon. We need to speak about a specific patron, and this month's Patreon giveaway recipient for September. So we're a little bit backed up here, Frank Janisch. But the Patreon giveaway recipient for September is Roberto Fredrickson. Roberto Fredrickson, you will be getting a signed photo of William the Beast Bibbiani. Roberto. I like the name Roberto. And that's Beto. That's where Beto gets his name from, right? Roberto?
Right, because he's Robert Ulysses Beto. I think that's his middle name.
Is his middle name Ulysses?
I think so, yeah.
That is crazy. I didn't know that. His middle name is Ulysses? Who would do that?
So.
Why would they do that to him?
His parents did it to him.
Why would they give you the name Robert Ulysses O'Rourke?
They liked Ulysses. They liked it. I don't know. You're down in Texas. You tell me.
Nah. Here's the thing. Don't take shots at the great state of Texas.
But I didn't take a shot at Texas. I just said you would know better than I would.
I don't know anybody named Ulysses except for the President of the United States. I've never heard anybody else with that name.
Actually, Beto's kid, he has a son whose name they named Ulysses.
No way! That is so... Yeah. I'm sorry.
I know way too much about Texas politics. I don't know.
This is completely apolitical here. Ulysses is a terrible name for anybody, and I'm sorry if there's a Ulysses listening right now, but Ulysses is a terrible name.
You know, like Ulysses is one of our biggest demographics that listen to the show, Brad. So you just alienated a good 60% of our audience.
Well, I'm only talking to one person right now, and that's Roberto Fredrickson. I like saying his name. I see. I'm down in Texas. I can roll my R's. I don't know about you. I can roll my R's.
Yeah,
Roberto Fredrickson. So congratulations. You're this month's Patreon giveaway recipient. William the Beast Bibbiani. Signed photo coming to your inbox. So congrats on that. Next week's matches, Frank, we got a lot of them. We got on Tuesday, we got the double header. It's an undercard. The undercard on the double header is Ben Bateman versus Janine the Machine. If you're already on the Patreon, you saw that match. And then the main event, Josh McCouga versus the Professor Lon Harris. This is the first part of the gauntlet that we're going to see, right?
Yeah, the first two matches in a 3-match gauntlet.
Yeah, so you're going to know two people, continuing on in the gauntlet to see if they can even qualify for that singles tournament. That should be interesting. Friday, November the 9th is the gauntlet final. So whoever comes out of these matches alive, we're going to see them in the gauntlet final. And then on Tuesday, November the 13th, you're going to see the finals of the Anarchy team tournament. That should be really good, Frank Janisch. We're about to talk about who's going to be in the finals. So I say let's get to it now. The Tuesday match was crazy. It was the Odd Couple versus the Harris Brothers. Let's get to a cut scene first here. Finstock, by the way, is the greatest character in the history of the movie Trivia Schmoedown. I mean,
watch out, Andrew Guy.
I mean, no, hey, hold on. Hold on.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm talking about...
That hit a nerve?
Hold on, Janisch. Hold on. You're talking crazy. Look, Andrew Guy is the star of the movie Trivia Schmoedown. That's my guy, Andrew Guy. But Finstock, I think, is like... They always say about wrestling that The Undertaker. He might not be always at the top of the card, but The Undertaker is Vince McMahon's greatest creation. The Undertaker. Capturing souls and digging holes, or whatever the hell he says. Rest in peace. The greatest creation. I don't know who came up with Finstock. I don't know if it was Christian. I don't know if it was Dagnino. I don't know if it was McCouga. Whoever the hell came up with it. Finstock is the greatest character in movie Trivia Schmoedown history because he found an ATM security tape footage or as Cardi B says, footages, showing Kalinowski, Mike K.O. Kalinowski, the killer, was actually the one who kidnapped Mark Riley's dog, Cal. Riley now knows the truth and that it wasn't Ben Bateman at all. It was never Ben Bateman. We thought it was Ben Bateman. This goes back to the Spectacular last year, right?
No, Collision.
This goes back to Collision. Collision. I'm sorry, Collision. It was a big event. This goes back to Collision. We thought that Ben Bateman stole Mark Riley's dog. That's why he was absent. But Mark Riley's dog, Cal, was actually kidnapped by Mike Kalinowski, and the plot thickens Frank Janisch.
Yeah, the fact that Finstock... First of all, there's an ATM right by the studio. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Have you ever seen this ATM?
No, but I'm gonna. This probably has like one of those card readers that steals your identity and stuff. It's probably one of those.
Oh yeah, like
ATMs,
an RFID. Do you know?
Right.
Speaking of the great state of Texas, down in Texas, there's a place called Sprinkles. I think they have them worldwide. Have you heard of Sprinkles? It's a cupcake place.
No,
never heard of it. So it's like these gourmet cupcakes that cost like $2.50 a cupcake. It's absolutely ridiculous, but people love these things. They love these things so much that at the Sprinkles here in the great city and state, Houston, Texas, there is a cupcake ATM that is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and at any time you can just go up to the cupcake ATM, select which one you want, put in your card, and it will dispense a nice, fresh, hot cupcake.
that's interesting.
It's more than interesting. It's God's gift to Texas.
It's kind of like those ATMs you see or not ATMs, vending machines that you see in airports where you can buy like a whole laptop or like a flat screen TV.
Who does that, by the way? Who does that? Who's like, you know what? I'm about to catch my flight over to L.A.
I need a new laptop.
10 minutes, I'm a little bit, 10 minutes until I board. What can I do? Oh, let me go look at the gift shop. Oh, look at this ATM. Let me buy $300 Beats headphones out of a vending machine and an Apple laptop. Well, I don't know who does that. That's the craziest thing I've ever seen. That's all. You know what that's doing? That's the airport telling you, look, we're going to lose it anyway. So you might as well just buy one here. That's what it is.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. But what I was going to say about this ATM security tape footage and the whole scam thing was, because Riley asked Finstock where he got the footage from. Well, it's because this is Finstock's scam ATM. So of course he has access to the security tape footage. That's how he got it.
Oh
the guy's
my goodness, mind blown.
A scoundrel.
He is a scoundrel. He is a scoundrel. He's a scallywag. He's a pirate. He is a riverboat gambler. Is Finstock. What a great idea. That's a great observation, Frank Janisch. But I think that the chemistry between Ben Bateman and Mark Riley will have to, and the bond that they have will have to grow even stronger after now Mark Riley knows that it wasn't Ben Bateman who stole his dog. I mean, I think that shows a good future for Who's the Boss.
I think you're absolutely correct, because Riley already respected Ben Bateman's game, but now that he knows that Ben Bateman isn't some dog snatcher, I think it really opens up the fact that these two can put some differences aside, or especially for Riley, and go the distance here. And we'll get to that match.
We'll get to it, but let's talk about the first match here. We talk about the odd couple, Jeff Snyder and Mark Andreyko. Of course, Roxy Stryer is their manager, versus the Harris brothers, Lon Harris and Big Brother Harris, also known as a professional wrestling tag team. I said, what was it, last week or the week before, that Lon Harris is going to get the yips. Did he get it? Let's talk about it, Frank Janisch. What went down in this match? Let's just start round number 1, Harris brothers odd couple.
Well, round number 1, it ended 11-14 in favor of the Harris brothers. Lon actually had a perfect round, including the bonus, so far he was yipless here. And John, though, his brother, gets 5 points here. This is back-to-back matches now for John in the first round, getting 5 points. So while he seemed impressive in the first match, his first round scores haven't been near the level of his brother Lon. And then you look at the odd couple, Andreyko and Snyder, 5 for Andreyko, 6 for Snyder. So Andreyko came back down to earth a little bit here, but they were only down 3 It's a very competitive match here, and this was chippy very early on here, I felt like.
Well, explain yourself.
Well, first of all, let's talk about Snyder coming out with the pink wig and the sass going on there. I mean, he's really gone to another level.
Who called him the Muppet? Because it was such a great
I think it was
call.
John.
Was it John? Oh,
John,
so spot on. Whoever did that. And what was funny was, as soon as he said that, everybody knew what he was talking about.
Or was that? Oh, she also point out Johnny LaQuasto and Ken Apsek are at the desk. It might have been one of them. I can't remember. I can't recall. It's been a long.
It may have been LaQuasto. Johnny LaQuasto, who I've known for several years, unfortunately, is a talented man at times, and it could have been Muppet. He could have pulled out the Muppet reference. It seems like it's up his sleeve. I don't know if you've ever heard his comedy album, but don't do yourself the disservice. I'm sure that it's up his sleeve. Johnny LaQuasto, everybody. He's going to be here, hopefully never again. But I thought that there was some chippiness going on with Jeff Snyder. I got to tell you though, since the breakup of the Patriots, Jeff Snyder I've kind of enjoyed more. I thought he was always good with the Patriots, but JTE sometimes would just kind of outshine him a little bit. I think now, especially with someone like Andraco, who's got more of a subdued personality, and there's a shared, Northeast Bostonianness between him and Roxy, but he really just kind of has grabbed the reins of the team, and I feel like he was the heart and soul of the Odd Couple.
I gotta agree with you, and I think it's because he has that champion pedigree with him now. He's going to carry that for the rest of his career, and so that automatically, gives you respect against whoever you may be teaming up with or whoever you are in league with. And I think with JTE and Snyder, I think the spotlight wasn't big enough for both of them. And right now, Snyder is able to occupy that spotlight, but Mark Andrico's right there. And he's not all about the pomp and circumstance. He's out there to answer questions and put on a good show, answering questions. And Roxy, she plays a different role. She's not out there at the desk, but she is a good manager, a good what's the word I'm looking for? A good representative for them, and so I think that really fits Snyder and the way he approaches the game, or the way he would like to approach the game, and it's much more fun, more lively. And however, he is still very competitive, and we saw that a lot here in this match.
No, yeah, the competitiveness definitely came out, but like I said, I just think that Jeff Snyder has been firing on all cylinders from a character and confidence standpoint. Advocate.
That was the word I was. The word I was trying to look for.
So I want to say this too, because I feel like we're kind of going on a couple of tangents today. But Roxy Stryer on Collider Live, I think is so good on that show. I think that's like her and Christian's back and forth, and the way she kind of really doesn't care what he has to say sometimes. I think is they have great chemistry.
Oh yeah, she's great, and she gets what Christian wants to accomplish, and that's why I think she works so well with that group over there and in the Schmoedown, and what everything there is about. So yeah, it makes sense that she's a perfect fit, and I've loved the way she's approached her managerial duties, if you will, with Andraco and Snyder, and I think it's really great. So
you said it was 14-11 at the end of the first round?
Yeah.
Now, definitely my prediction of Mr. Lon Harris getting the yips has not come true yet, but I'm still holding out hopes. Well, see, here's the thing. He's got to build it up here, because if we just come out of the gate with the yips, it's no fun. But see, it's a weak thing.
Once you go up, you must come down, is what you're saying.
Right. The bubble has to burst at some point.
Okay.
The bubble
Why are you so against
burst.
Lon? I don't get this.
What do you mean? I have nothing against him.
You've been cheering for his demise for the past couple of weeks now.
I have not been cheering for his demise.
You're saying the guy has the yips.
I just know what's going to happen. I'm a soothsayer at times, Frank Janisch.
Okay.
I know what's going to occur, and I'm just calling it like I see it. And we'll find out. Well, let's get into round number 2, though. Let's talk about round 2 with the Harris brothers and the Odd Couple. 3 points isn't a insurmountable deficit by any means. So what happened? Who deferred? Who went next? Give me the rundown.
Yeah, well, the Harris brothers, yes, they were in the lead 14-11. They do not defer to the odd couple, so they spin first. They land on new releases, and then opt to spin again and land ultimately on Quentin Tarantino. And they end up getting 4 of their 6 correct. They had to go to multiple choice just once. They did not capitalize on that. Neither did the odd couple in a steal attempt, but they did give up. They did not get burned on any of their misses by the odd couple, which would prove to be pretty significant, I think, in this match. But overall, they had a pretty good run in Tarantino. Again, 2, 4, 6, 8 points on 4 questions correct. But there was some gaps there that the odd couple could have taken advantage of. They didn't, and so they were up. Let's see here, 22 to 11 now before the odd couple spins.
Yeah, 22-11, pretty big deficit there, 11 points. But then Jeff Snyder goes up to spin the wheel. I loved his stance, by the way. I don't know if anybody made a meme of that at all, or there's any screen grab of it. But Jeff Snyder was standing there, I believe, in a pink wig, an orange T-shirt, and like a teal blue muscle shirt with his hands on his hips and sunglasses, staring at the wheel. It was one of the funniest. It was one of the funniest things. And then, of course, they spin opponent's choice. Not fun.
Yeah. But also, real quick before we get into this, this is when Snyder was also kind of getting chippy. He was yapping at Knapsack, about, why don't you give him more clues and stuff like that. And this was a somewhat of a points in the match where Snyder, and I guess we later found out in the post-match interview that Snyder and Draco really felt that the fairness or the level of difficulty wasn't even throughout the match on both sides for both teams, and you could tell it's pretty obvious by the edit here that there was more than we got to see. So my imagination can run wild with what Snyder probably was saying, because if you recall,
listen here, Janisch. Listen here. The last thing that we need to occur on this show again, the very last thing. They say now, you don't want smoke with so-and-so. The last thing I want to occur is having any smoke with Jeff Snyder again. Because I don't think you can afford this one, Janisch. I don't think you can afford the smoke.
I'm not saying anything disparaging. I'm just simply pointing out an observation.
I don't know. You're saying that he's chippy. He's chippy. I don't know. Once again, he's from the East Coast. They're a little chippier out there. It's not a Midwestern.
Do you disagree that he was not chippy in this match? Is that what you're telling me?
I mean, he was forceful.
Come on.
He was forceful. He made his opinion felt. Chippy to me doesn't do it justice. He was stern with his opinions.
Stern with his opinion. Wow.
How about that?
Okay.
I like that a little bit more.
Are you getting dizzy from all that spin? Jeez, come on.
It's like a cable news show in here today at the Schmoedown Rundown. But they go and they get sports, which I don't know. When I first heard that, I guess first instinct was, well, Jeff Snyder was in a tag team called the Patriots, which is named after a sports franchise. Maybe you're betting on Mark Andraco would be the weaker link there, because I know in the past he hasn't done the best in sports. Or maybe the Harris brothers were self-projecting on the odd couple, saying, we know absolutely nothing about sports, so I'm assuming nobody does. It is beneath our intellectual minds to know something about the athletic world of sporting events. So I don't know where they're coming with it. To me, I thought, when I heard, I was like, oh, you know what, they might do all right.
It's interesting because when you look at some of the top players, like Dan Murrell, for instance, they don't do that well in sports for whatever reason. So a lot of players seem to stumble in sports, the sports category, sports movies. There are some very surface level sports movies that are just that have permeated, society as one of the, you have to see this movie, whether it's like Field of Dreams or Rookie of the Year, stuff like that,
or Remember
Major League,
the Titans.
Yeah, apparently no one in the damn league has ever seen this movie, which is just incredible that this would come back to burn so many teams, or at least in high-profile situations. It's incredible what this movie has done to teams and players in this league. But in sports, I personally thought these questions were fairly easy. There was I think the Caddyshack one. I thought, I didn't know that answer outright, but when you listen to the multiple choice and you listen to the question, I felt like you could
read it in Rodney Dangerfield's voice. That's what I did.
That too helps. Yeah, and reasonably deduced that it'd be a bowl of soup. Like,
yeah.
A hat, so I didn't feel like they had that much of a leg to stand on in terms of complaining about those questions, but they're the ones playing the game, not me.
Like I said, I don't want any smoke. I don't want no smoke. But as far as sports movies go, I thought this category was kind of easy. As far as the questions. I mean,
personally, yeah.
They went to multiple choice, and I think I don't know if they did a repeat.
4 times. They did 4 times. They had they did repeat in the on.
Was it the Major League question?
Time. I think so. Yeah.
And that was the one that killed me because it was like, in Major League, what is the result of the at bat Jake Taylor has whenever he does the Babe Ruth point, something like that, right?
Even if you haven't seen these movies, I kind of go in the mindset of if I was writing this movie, what would I write as for this movie in this scenario? What would I write to make this scene compelling or work, or if it makes sense for the movie? And once you kind of rack your brain with all these options of the home run, a foul ball, a bunt, a strikeout, what would the famous Babe Ruth calling a shot, and then you go bunt? It's like the complete opposite, basically, without striking out, obviously. It's the complete opposite of a home run, which would make sense if you're a writer, in a sense.
It would make sense.
That's just my thinking.
But for me, it's even like, if you've seen this movie once, and if you've ever seen the sequel to the movie, it's at the very end of the first movie, at the very beginning of the second movie. This was like a big thing from those Major League films, was the Jake Taylor called shot, and then he goes for a bunt, and he's safe at first, by sliding into first base with his bad knees. I mean, I don't know, maybe I've just seen the movie too many times, but to me, I was screaming in my head, bunt, 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 damn you, bunt, and they don't get it right.
And
then the Harris brothers didn't do well on steals either.
No. So like, no one knows sports in this league. I don't get it. I mean, only a couple like Josh McCouga does. JTE. I was going to say this is where JTE would have fills in this gap for Snyder, and as we've seen, Andreyko isn't capable of filling the gaps of knowledge that Snyder has in this one regard, at least.
Yeah. So I think that the round ended. I believe it was 24-16 going into the third round. Yikes. Not good. And so I expected would it be a TKO? It would be a TKO in round 3. And that's what I was expecting. I mean, no one has ever gotten more than 6 points. Is that what it is? They've never come back from more than 6 points?
Yeah, a 6-point deficit. No one's ever overcome that.
And to me, having a much larger than 6-point, an 8-point deficit in round number 3, the math was not in your favor at all.
No, I mean, because obviously you had to go perfect in your round 3, and then you had to really rely on some good luck going your way when the good luck has not been going your way thus far. So you're going to have to bank on that, and that the Harris brothers would have to miss other questions. So, that didn't happen here.
Yes.
And get into this third round, though. They rolled the odd couple, and Draco and Snyder. They rolled right through this third round fairly easily, I thought.
Well, that was what I was so impressed with, because I was assuming, okay, maybe they get a 2-pointer and then they miss their 3 and then they're kind of out. I did not expect them to go perfect in round number 3, which they had to do. The first question was in modern classics, which is still a very strange category. I just can't wrap my head around fully. But modern classics, it was what is the name of the special kick that Daniel learns in the Karate Kid? They got that one. And then it goes to Leonardo DiCaprio,
which is kind of a sports.
It is a sports question. It is a sports question. Leo DiCaprio is who plays DiCaprio's wife, Mao, in Inception. Yeah. They get that one right. And then they go into the third one, which was fantasy sci-fi. Their 5-pointer was, which Academy Award-winning actress played Major Rebecca Childs in the science fiction adventure The Core? Now, if that's not a 5-pointer.
Yeah.
That's a 5-pointer right there.
That's a quality 5-pointer. Yeah,
that is quality.
Yeah, and they got it, and they pretty much cruised. I mean, and Draco seemed to know that one right off the bat. And then they put the little tiny pressure on the Harris brothers because they were up 26-24 now, and Lon and John, they just had to do little work here.
Had to do a little work. I mean, the math was definitely in their favor. Their odds were definitely in their favor. Question 1 was from War Movies. Who plays Colonel Nicholson in the war film The Bridge Over the River Kwai? I believe John got that one correct, sending it to 26-26. It's all on Lon. Would Lon get the yips on question 2, biopics? And what Eastern European country did the 2002 film The Pianist take place? And he got it right. Lon Harris did not get the yips. The Harris brothers beat the Odd Couple 29-26 to advance to the finals, right? They advanced to the finals of the Anarchy tournament. They are one step closer. I wonder what JTE is thinking. We're about to find out in a second what Snyder was thinking. And the Harris brothers, they're doing very well for themselves here in this Anarchy tournament.
Can I tell you something about Lon Harris here?
Go ahead.
And in regard to the yips you think are coming, he's done so far in the tournament.
Let me hear it.
In individual questions, he's answered 25 of his 27 individual questions for 29 points.
It's not bad.
He's contributed to his point. So he is, in fact, the top player in this tournament right now. He's the MVP player of this tournament through his 3 matches. There's no way around that, Brad. Sorry. So
that's fine. That's fine.
So he's,
just like Paul Revere told us about the British, the yips are coming. The yips are coming. Just believe you me. I just have a feeling about these things. I don't know why. But what did you think overall? I mean, obviously the Harris brothers had a dominant performance, all jokes aside. The Odd Couple came back, and they at least put the ball and the pressure on the Harris brothers to perform. The ball was in their court. It was their game to lose at that point. They didn't falter under the pressure, and they went up 29-26, winning the round, getting to the finals. I thought that this was a well-played match by the Harris brothers. I am still shocked about the sports category and how it did not play in the Odd Couple's favor. I think you're 100% right. Had JTE been there, it would have been a whole different ball game. But the Harris brothers, I don't know. Are they the team to beat, Janisch?
I mean, I don't know because of John and his 2 first-round performances so far. He's only gotten 5 correct in each match he's played in. And typically when you look at the best teams that we've seen in the league, they're up there with 7 points consistently, 7-6, 8, getting perfect rounds like the Shire Wolves have done, like Critically Acclaimed has done, like the Patriots. Jeff Snyder has played better in the past. Look at those teams above the line with Drew McWeeny. Those guys, those teams are continually getting up to 13, 14 points in that first round. Now they got 14 points here, true, but how many times can Lon, carry that load in the first round before he gets a bit of bad luck and John's got to pick up the slack, but now can he, though? So when you get into that final match, I don't know if he's going to be able to deliver on a big stage, and it's going to be just his 3rd match in the Schmoedown ever. And I also look at John's knowledge in the first round from 5 points and how that can possibly translate into the second round, in the third round, because if his general movie knowledge is at an average level, how does that then play down the line in other rounds in order to help Lon succeed in the match and win as a team? So I think I have a tiny bit of question mark for the Harris brothers, but I mean, they're obviously very, very good, but when you run up against the upper teams here in the teams division that is becoming very, very stacked, it's going to be interesting to see how John performs in those situations.
Yeah, it will be, because the thing is this, and I think that a good example of this was Bald Brian. Bald Brian is a very well-read, well-learned man when it comes to the world of movies and film. But to go in there so early on in his career, actually his first match, to go in there and be expected to be able to compete, in a high pressure match, for a championship. Do we know if the finals is going to be a 5-round or is it just going to be a 3-round?
Yeah, it's 5 rounds. Yeah,
it's 5 rounds. Yeah, that's what I thought. I was just making sure. So to go in there to a 5-round format, something that he has never been in before, at least, and has never even been around. Lon, I don't know if Lon ever been in a 5-rounder? I don't think so.
No,
he wouldn't. No. But he's been around for a while. He's been able to observe them. John, Big Brother Harris, not so much. And then on the other side, which we're about to get into, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't like their odds. Even though you said Lon Harris has been doing good. He's been doing great. Some people might say he's doing perfect.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's true. It's a team game, and that's the key part here is that Lon's only one half of the team. And if the other half can't show up to do their part, then Lon's performance is kind of all for nothing in a sense.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. So let's move on, though, so we can talk about who their challengers are going to be, who their opponents are going to be in the finals here. We're going to have the Friday match was between Corruption, of course, Mike Kalinowski, Chance Ellison versus Who's the Boss, which has been the Boss Bateman and Mark Yodi Riley, accompanied to the ring by Finn Stock. But before we get into the match, there was an opening scene, which was very interesting.
Yeah, well, we should really point out the end scene that was.
Oh, right. I skipped the end scene. Let's talk about the end scene. Let's talk about the end scene. Then it'll get us right into the opening cut scene. In the end credit scene from Tuesday's match, you saw Mike Kalinowski make Thad Williams the commissioner. Now, believe it or not, Thad is still the commissioner of the movie trivia Schmoedown. Yes, I don't know if you knew this. It's a little known fact, but Mike Kalinowski has made Thad Williams put Ken Knapsack in the Star Wars Championship match versus Alex Damon. So we're going to see at the Star Wars Championship match at the Spectacular, you're going to see Thad Williams has made it official. Ken Knapsack versus Alex Damon for the Star Wars Championship. Yet to be decided if there's any stipulation. I think it's just going to be a straight up championship match in Star Wars, which should be very fun to be an observer of. But Mike Kalinowski forcing the hand of Thad yet again, Frank.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see Kalinowski, still having influence this late in the year, coming up with Spectacular. It's very interesting to see him still. He's getting more brazen. I mean, he's now affecting title matches. He did it with the Inner Geekdom. Now he's doing it with Star Wars here. It's very ballsy stuff he's doing here.
He's definitely one to take a risk or two. But this is what gets us into the opening cutscene from Friday's match, which I believe was very compelling and interesting. So let's talk about it. Breanne Chandler, who won the free-for-all this year. We were just talking about her teammate, Bald Brian. She goes into Thad's office and says that if he doesn't stand up to Mike Kalinowski, that she has a list in her hand. She's got this paper that has a list of several key names. And she said, if you do not stand up to Mike Kalinowski, several key players are ready to walk out. You will have no Spectacular. We are not playing. It's like an NBA lockout. They're going on strike. Something's got to be done about Mike Kalinowski. She was upset about the Star Wars match with Ken, and she kind of said, you either fix this, you change this, or we're walking. What did you think, Frank?
Yeah, it was a very interesting scene, something we haven't seen, any type of scene like this in the Schmoedown with these storylines, and it was kind of, I don't want to say weird, but it was different because usually they're pretty lively, pretty jovial, and it was kind of, just very kind of comedic. But this one was a little bit more serious. And Breanne, mentions that, hey, look, I had this deal about Finstock. If he reaches a certain number, he becomes commissioner. And Thad was like, that wasn't a real thing. Even though this guy lives and swears and dies by contracts, it's interesting to me that he disregarded this one that Breanne had. But I guess that makes sense when he's gonna, back down to Kalinowski since he has been all this time this year. I thought it was interesting that Breanne was the one that was coming to Thad because while she's not an active player per se this year. I mean, was in the free for all and in that title match because she won, because she cashed it in, the title shot. She runs the Patreon, and here she is, kind of being a voice.
She's
for
a
these
big
other
part of the
that are
league,
going. Though. Yeah, she is, and now she's now being a voice for these other players, which is interesting to me. That she seems to have, that these other players see what's going on, they don't like it, and Brienne picked up on it and says, apparently that she can kind of be a voice for them and say, "Yo, Thad, better grow a spine here because Kalinowski is just doing whatever the hell he wants around here."
Yeah, and you know what? I like it. I like this. This is what these kind of things are what initially got me hooked to the Schmoedown. Was these cutscenes, these story points. So now, if you were to guess, Frank, because neither of us know where this is going to lead. We don't know what Kalinowski has on Thad. We don't know why he's been able to force his hand for all these months. Well, actually, I do know. I found out when I was in Oregon.
Right.
When I was in Oregon, I found out the secret. I found out the secret. But you don't know. And I don't want to spoil it for anybody out there. I don't want to let anyone know. I don't want to ruin it for them. But what do you think? What do you think is going to happen? Do you think that Brienne is going to be able to force the arm of Thad Williams? What do you think is going to happen?
Honestly, I really don't know. I think, we did come up with this. What was this? Or you brought it up, and I love this idea of, was it like a league within a league or something?
Yes, like the NWO of the movie Trivia Schmoedown.
When you brought up this idea, this scenario, I instantly fell in love with it. And it seems like Brienne, she could start this mass exodus with all these players that she seemed to have galvanized together, and she could be a voice for them and sort of, attack the establishment, if you will, that is Thad Williams, and corruption that's running him, basically. So it could be an interesting way to go. I'm curious to find out. But other than that, I have really no idea where in the hell this is going.
Well, we're going to. There's another scene that we're going to get to after the match, but I just really thought that it was interesting. It puts things at play. Things are now in motion when it comes to the relationship that Thad Williams and Mike Kalinowski have. So let's talk about the match, though. You have Corruption, Chance Ellison, who's been a very late addition to the movie Trivia Schmoedown, but a very impressive one. You have Mike Kalinowski. Then you have Who's the Boss, Ben Bateman, Mark Riley. I think that Who's the Boss would probably be considered. Were they considered the favorite? Or no, I think actually Corruption was considered the favorite.
Corruption was, yeah.
Corruption was considered the favorite. Yeah.
Corruption is always favored.
Yeah, exactly. Well, why wouldn't they be? But in your personal viewpoint, you're the stat man. Who did you see as the favorite?
Yeah, I did see. Statistically, Who's the Boss was performing better. They came into this match answering 82% correct through their first two matches. Corruption came into this match answering 78% through their first two matches. So the edge was definitely with Who's the Boss, but Corruption, Kalinowski, he makes the rules here, so of course he's going to be favored. But it doesn't. But it's interesting because I'm jumping ahead here to the end of the match, though. Both teams that were favored in their matches lost. So.
Well, yes, and we're gonna. So let's get to it now. What? Give me round number one. You have Who's the Boss versus Corruption. Give me round number one, Frank Janisch.
Well, it ended in a 12-12 tie, and the first question no one got right, so it was basically the best out of seven. And Chance was doing a good job of running the board from there on out. Did get the last question wrong. The what was it? City of Angels, the Nicolas Cage, Meg Ryan question. He did not pull that one, but Ben Bateman, Mark Riley, Mike Kalinowski, and Chance Ellison, they all got 6 questions correct, so they're all knotted up at 12. I loved. Here's the thing that just completely astounded me, and I don't know if it astounded you. Mike Kalinowski asked for 2 repeats on the same question. I was literally losing my mind because he wasted another repeat on a 1-point question.
Yeah, was it
Why?
Was it the flash dance question?
Yes. And
who played Alex?
Yeah, and if you've listened to this show before, when we've had Ben Bateman on, he went into this whole thing about what's a repeat worth in round 1. And, not a whole lot. So I knew Ben was going to have a lot to say about Mike using 2 repeats on a 1-point question.
Well, he was freaking out.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was losing it. And what I found hilarious about it was a question that just, I don't know, there was just no consequence there. There was no consequence there, and I guess that Mike's. If at that moment I had to try to understand what he was thinking, I guess it was, I know this is going to be a hard-fought battle. This is going to be a hard-fought match, so every point counts.
Sure.
So, I mean, that's the only reason I could come up with, as to why he would use 2 repeats on one question in the first round.
It's interesting, too, because you look at his line up to that point. He was 2 of 4 at that point, so probably wasn't feeling too good about himself. But so he was digging deep to get this one question because he knew he could pull it. I think it's just bad strategy. Whether or not it affected the outcome of the game isn't really of concern to me. It's just bad strategy because then down the line, you would employ the same strategy in a situation where maybe it matters even more, where it's a game-deciding decision, a la Corruption, Founding Fathers match, right? So, not quite the same scenario, but still, you get my drift of the severity of using a repeat when you really shouldn't, but that's a peripheral thing. So when he, trying to get this point, okay, he answered his last 4 correct to try and get some momentum. It did keep it tied. Okay, that's great, but it just blew my mind that he wasted 2. I don't know if we've ever seen that. Someone in the comments will probably correct me, but if it has, it's maybe been once or twice.
Yeah, but Ben Bateman's just reaction to this was priceless, and the trash talking between him and Mike the whole time, Ben and Mike, was so good. I just enjoyed the dynamic of this match because you also have Chance, who's been relatively, he's been there with Mike, but he's kind of been relatively to himself, And
let's remember,
yeah.
Ben Bateman and Mike Kalinowski, they've done battle before in the teams division. So it's not like they haven't faced each other in this scenario on opposite sides of the table. So Ben Bateman coming back again for Mike, it's there's and he knows Mike Kalinowski really well, and Mike knows Ben really well as well. So it was a fun thing to watch Ben do, and this is what I actually love about the trinity of Bateman, Riley, and Finstock is that they're all so different, but on the same page, and someone brings a different kind of swagger to their game, and it really works out on all sides.
Yeah, no, I definitely enjoy it. So let's get to round number 2, Frank. Give me the rundown. Who goes first? What do they spin?
Brad, we're on the rundown. You don't have to say, give me the rundown.
Well, that's like my thing. It's like a gimmick,
Okay.
It's right.
So Corruption defers to Who's the Boss. They spin Fantasy Sci-Fi first, and end up spinning again after some deliberation. And Scores and Soundtracks is what they end up on, and wow. Talk about some redemption for Riley. They run the table here. Nearly a perfect round. They do go 6 of 6, but they get 11 of the 12 points. They would later make up a couple more points once Corruption goes, but a fantastic showing. Immediately putting pressure on Corruption to basically have to go perfect in this round in order to keep pace. And it was an interesting turn of events here because Corruption, I think, is coming off a high from taking down Founding Fathers. They probably think very highly of themselves, right, coming into this match and even into the second round. But Who's the Boss? They are such a skilled team that you got to be careful deferring to teams like this, because if they get the right spin, then you end up in the situation that Corruption's in. Yeah,
but the thing is, Scores and Soundtracks, I just didn't think that they were going to be able to pull off what they did. And we saw them go to multiple choice, and that's okay because this is one of the tougher categories. If your name's not Christian Harloff and a few others, you're not going to do so well in this category. But then running the table on it, Hans Zimmer on the Sherlock Holmes question, there were several of them that were just very good calls.
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Oh, Butch Cassidy. Yeah, raindrops keep falling on my head. Mm-hmm. So many great calls from both teams, and you could tell that was a team effort. That was not, hey, I'm going to back up because this is your category. They worked together.
I want to say something about that, too, because Riley, he immediately calls out the first answer, and it looks like Bateman kind of reels him back in and said, hey, we got a strategy here. We converse on every question. We talk about it. Maybe we draw it out a little bit longer to make sure, what have you, whatever they're saying. But because after that first question, Riley and Bateman, they conferred on the rest of the 5 questions in that round, and I think it speaks to strategy. The team itself, on what they're trying to do, and how they're trying to better one another. So I thought it was a great look from Ben's perspective, from Ben's side of things, because he has this reputation of being the action army guy and being loud and outspoken, but he puts all those differences aside when it comes to winning, and he's there for Riley, and Riley apparently is there for Bateman now. So it's a really good team forming here right before our eyes.
Absolutely. But now let's go over to corruption. Corruption goes up to the wheel. They first spin movie release dates. Not a category they wanted to stay on. They were trying to get James Bond, but James Bond was elusive, as a secret agent should be, to Mike Kalinowski. They spin again, and they get 2000s, which is another kind of ambiguous category. You never know what you're going to get. It's either going to be movies through the 2000s that everybody had heard of, or these really obscure movies from the early 2000s.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be a fine category for them because, look, Chance is a young kid, and it's been shown in this game that the older you are, the better you tend to do in most cases. And with Chance being so young, 2000, this would be right in his wheelhouse of growing up, watching a ton of movies. So it wouldn't be anything, I don't know how much he knows. Actually, really nobody knows besides the people in the fan leagues would know better than us in the Schmoedown League would know what his knowledge is. So I'm just guessing here that 2000 would be more in his wheelhouse just naturally as growing up. So I thought this would have been a fine round for them. Same thing with Mike. This is nothing too early. This isn't like a 70s or even early 80s stuff, that he might know that. But I feel like 2000s was a fairly decent category, although it is broad. But Chance has shown that he's a really good player up to this point. Same thing with Mike. So I thought I didn't think they would probably surpass Who's the Boss. I thought they would keep it pretty close. And that's not what happened here.
No. Why don't you lay out what we actually saw unfold in front of our very eyes?
So they ended up getting 4 of 6 correct for a total of 7 points, which is ultimately half of what Who's the Boss earned in total in this second round. Not a good look being down 7 points to Who's the Boss. Not great. Not great for corruption.
Definitely not great at all.
It's another huge lead for a team going into the final round. The same thing that happened with the Harris brothers.
Yes, yeah. It was very similar. Just a lead that seems insurmountable. It seems like an insurmountable lead. So why don't we talk about round number 3, Frank? How did it play out? How did we get to the finish that we got to?
Well, Mike and Chance, they had to run the table here, and Mike gets disaster movies, disaster category, and what was that? Well, you have the questions, right?
I'm trying to pull it up here as we talk, but it was the volcano was the answer to the question.
Yes, Tommy Lee Jones.
Yes,
with disaster movie, blah blah blah. It was Tommy Lee Jones on that one. Then Chance got a rom-com, which I thought he was going to get. It was it The Wedding Planner? Was that the question?
It was the question was essentially who played Jennifer Lopez's main love interest in The Wedding Planner. Who was the doctor, the pediatrician? And it was Matthew McConaughey. Which, by the way, come on now. Yeah. Let's have first of all, wait, before you say anything, Frank Janisch, let's have 3 seconds of appreciation silence for Jennifer Lopez. Okay, now here's the thing. By the way, I don't know if anyone saw that In Style magazine cover this week, but brother. But The Wedding Planner, that's like a quintessential J-Lo movie. You got to know The Wedding Planner. You got to know that one.
I have 5 sisters. Of course I know the damn movie.
Holy hell. By the way, my wonderful girlfriend and I, Farrah, we got to see an advanced screening of the new Jennifer Lopez movie, Second Act, also starring Vanessa Hudgens and the actor I was almost named after, Treat Williams. And you know what? As far as J-Lo movies go, on a scale of Gigli to Enough, it was about a Maid in Manhattan. So
okay.
I enjoyed it. It was good. It was a nice little watch. There's a young Asian actress in there who's very funny, and Jennifer Lopez, Vanessa Hudgens, they got good chemistry. Treat Williams is still a boss. But anyway, let's get into the fact that Chance Ellison missed this question. How do you miss Matthew McConaughey? And
this goes back to when they missed the Manchurian Candidate question in their second round.
Yes, Denzel Washington was the answer.
Yeah, they picked Liev Schreiber, and it seemed like with both of these answers, they went away from the main actor in the movie, which confused me. Like, why? Like, okay, whatever. And so I feel like they did it both here in that question and chanced it here with this one. Maybe he just flat out didn't know it. It just surprised me, though.
Yeah. It was surprising you get something like that wrong, which, like I said, it was just kind of one of those Jennifer Lopez movies that you had to have seen and know that, all right, himself was in it. And to me, it was these obvious answers that ended up being their downfall.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of how it happened. So, who's the boss? Takes the cake, brother. They end up winning in the third round, and they will go on to face the Harris brothers, Frank Janisch. This is a good clash. I don't know if I would have called this outright. Who's the Boss was probably earmarked as an early favorite to make it to the final round. Harris brothers, of course, a late, unexpected entry into the tournament, but I like this final.
I like it too, and I will say, I know it's the Harris brothers, but I thought the Evil Geniuses were going to make it, so that's one half correct, I guess, with Lon. And you know, you could have said Who's the Boss or Founding Fathers for that side of the bracket. It ends up being Who's the Boss, and this is going to be. It's interesting. You look at Who's the Boss, very experienced. You got championship pedigree with Mark Riley. And you got the Harris brothers, very, very new to the league. Even though Lon's been in it for a little bit, he's still pretty new. Especially John, obviously. This is his first go at it. So you have experience versus relatively unexperienced team. It's going to be a hell of a final because Lon can bring it as good as anyone in this league, and he has shown that repeatedly throughout the year. And you got Bateman and Riley. They've been the top team in the tournament thus far. You take a look at their 3-0 run right now. They're answering 83% correct. They are 4 for 4 on steal chances, and they're averaging 27, nearly 28 points per match. So they are on a hell of a run.
They are on quite the run. So it should be a great champion final. If you got to call it right now, Frank, who you got? Anarchy final. Who's the boss? Harris brothers.
What I want to see and what I think I'm going to see is Who's the Boss. And the reason I would like to see it is because we would get Mark Riley going up against his former teammate in Clark Wolf, and that means you would also have Ben Bateman going up against the Shire Wolves once again, but with a different partner. Because as we all know, Team Action lost to the Shire Wolves
at the live event. Yeah.
and that helped propel the Shire Wolves to the title. So Ben Bateman's going to could possibly get another crack at the Shire Wolves just with a different teammate. It's a hell of a way to come full circle here at the end of the year if they were to do it. Now, the Harris brothers, I think they could do it as well. Lon Harris, he could carry this team over the finish line and into that spectacular showdown with the Shire Wolves. I just don't know about John. If John shows up, we could be looking at one of the all-time matches here in the final. But John's got to give me 6, 7 points. None of this 5-point stuff. Not in the tournament final. Not against Mark Riley, who is one of the best first-round players, just like Lon. Mark Riley's consistently at that 7-point level. Same thing with Ben for the most part, 6, 7 points. But John, he's going to have to bring it in this final if they're really going to have a shot. And then hopefully they get a good spin. Because both of these teams are going to rely, I think, on good spins here and to help accentuate how well they do in the first rounds. And then the other 3 rounds after that is going to be who knows.
Well, you know what? The one thing that we do know is that this is not going to be a triple threat match when it comes to the championship title. Whoever goes on to win this is going to get a one-on-one contest because in an end credit scene during this match, we saw Mike Kalinowski go to Thad and say that corruption is going to be in the title match and it's going to be a triple threat match. And then Thad, what does he say, Frank?
No, very much. Did that remind you of somebody? Did it remind you? No, Biff, you leave her alone.
Oh, no, Biff. Yeah, that's good. Okay, yeah,
It's
the little
this George McFly and Biff right now. This is what this is.
It's the same dynamic. It's the same dynamic. And he tells him no, and that kind of, Brienne sparked the fuse, if you will, to the ticking time bomb that is the relationship between Thad Williams and Mike Kalinowski. And where does it go after Thad finally puts his foot down to Mike Kalinowski? Are we going to find out? Is the world going to find out? Because I already know. But is the world going to find out what exactly Kalinowski has over Thad? I think that all roads lead to the spectacular.
It's funny because you look at Kalinowski and he has this look on his face like, I know something you don't, Thad. Like, he's not worried about Thad saying no, as if it doesn't matter what Thad says. As almost if it doesn't matter. So I don't know what
almost as if it doesn't matter, but what does matter is that we know our Anarchy final. Once again, who's the boss versus the Harris brothers? Let us know in the comments. Who do you think is going to win? Do you think it's going to be the Harris brothers? Do you think it's going to be who's the boss? We're going to find out very, very soon, and who's going to get that shot at the Shire Wolves at the Spectacular. It should be good, Frank Janisch, but why don't you let people know where they can find you and all the things that Frank Janisch is about?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at FrankieJ29.
FrankieJ29.
And TriviaSD.com.
That's what I was about to plug. Make sure you go to TriviaSD.com to find out about all things movie trivia Schmoedown related. You can follow me on all social media at Brad Gilmore. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at SD Rundown, Schmoedown Rundown on Instagram and Facebook. Until next week, we will see you back, video projection and all. Chris Clark will stop being busy doing things and rocking suckers, and he will be back here producing our show. But until next time, for Frank Janisch, I'm Brad Gilmore. We'll see you on the Rundown, brother.
California fires. I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute.
We are a long ways from being out of the firefight.
There are 6 major wildfires burning in California. CAL FIRE's Ken Pilmott is following the fires in the north.
Right now, our focus is on life safety. There are active rescues continuing to go on all of these fires, and in particular the Camp Fire in Butte County.
At least 5 bodies have been found in burned vehicles in Northern California. Everyone in Malibu in Southern California is being told to evacuate from a wildfire there.
We have over 300 Los Angeles County firefighters here, and as mentioned, collectively, that's going to grow as we continue to battle this fire